Yo, welcome to another analysis video where we look for good swing trade setups and possible day trade setups for the week ahead, just identifying key levels and what we think price action might do in the upcoming week. And last week, if you saw the video, we were looking at gold and it did exactly what we wanted it to do. So I'm just going to do gold this week. There's so much to talk about and I don't want to keep you too long. So the first thing that I want to identify here, and I identified this right away last week, was this range here that we've been stuck in with gold for the last 2 months. And I identified this as a range just because we have a couple of fake outs, right? But 90% of the price action is within this range. Now, if we look at the previous setup, I'll pull it up on my Discord, and I posted this trade setup. It was a swing trade setup that I put in the Discord for all members. So if you haven't gotten in there yet, I'll leave the link in the description. But here was the trade setup. We were expecting a breakout of this range and a retest. And we actually got a beautiful entry at 33.85 on the retest. And it looked a little something like this, almost a sniper entry, pumped up almost to a 2R. And then it reversed hard. So we took about a 1R on this trade, but a win's a win because price reversed really hard. And wouldn't you know it, went right back into the range. Okay, so we had another nice fake out back into the range, but there was some profit to be made on this previous pump. I mean, look at that little pullback there. It was such a beautiful little textbook technical entry for us. So that was good news. So for this week, let's look at a few things. So I want to pull up the EdgeFinder first. Now, this is software where it takes all of the economic data for each asset and it gives it a bullish or a bearish score. And it just kind of gives you an edge to be on the right side of the trade, depending on what the economy is doing. Okay, and there's a bunch of factors that they look at. But gold's very interesting this week. So if we look at it down here, it's now a neutral score, +3, but still considered neutral. But if I click on this thing, it's going to give a more detailed breakdown of where that scoring comes from. And there's something really interesting that I had brought up in one of my Discord daily analysis meetings where we look at potential day trade setups in my VIP section. And we noticed that all of the bullish readings are more of like a technical type of concept, and all the bearish readings are more economic. So I thought that this economic reading, where all the economics pointed toward gold possibly being bearish, had more weight to it than the bullish score. So we actually became bearish, sorry, after the after those reports came out and gold started to turn back into this zone. So we caught a beautiful move to the upside, being bullish bias to start the week, and then our bias switched to bearish second half of the week, which doesn't happen often, but we caught both of these moves and it was just a great week. They were very clean to the upside, very clean to the downside. If we look at the 1 hour chart, I'm going to pull up the 9 and the 20 EMA, we can see that we only had one crossover last week, bullish, bearish, very clean price action. So the reason why I'm thinking this week, if we look at the calendar, there's a bunch of news. So this could change throughout the week. There is so much news. So just be aware of that. It could be very choppy unless the economics continue to disfavor gold. So from a technical standpoint, I'll go back to the 4 hour chart. Now, something interesting is that we broke this psychological level here of 3,400, okay? 3,400. And that's interesting because a lot of the times what's going to happen is if we break a key psychological level, there's going to be a lot of positions that jump on the bandwagon and go along with gold. Now that we've reversed really hard and we're back in this range, there's probably a lot of buyers kind of stuck in their position trades up here, right? So there was quite a bit liquidity for sellers to bring price back down here. Now, I think from how the current economics stand and how the current price action stands, I think we're looking at more downside for gold. I would be very surprised if Monday opened up, unless some kind of world event happens where Monday we just run this thing all the way back up to the moon. I mean, nothing's impossible, but I just don't see any technical reason other than, maybe, let me clear this here real quick. Maybe we have like a trend line here or something, right? Maybe that's the only technical reason that gold might bounce because of this trend line that maybe some people are watching, right? But that's the only key factor holding the price of gold currently where it is. For downside, I would be really, really interested in seeing if price can make it back down to this level, break 3,300, because 3,300, let's mark that as well, just so we're aware of it. So 3,300 is a psychological key level, and it looks a little something like this. Okay. So, I think we could definitely be headed in that direction just to test that key level. And as you can see, 3,300 has had a reaction here previously, right? So it is relevant. I mean, it's not perfect. Like here, we broke right through it, but these two levels, we had a decent sized bounce off of 33 levels. So there is buyers kind of waiting at those psychological levels very often. So just be aware of that. So coming into the week, I would really like to see, just with this trend line, I don't trade trend lines often unless they're very overwhelmingly obvious. And this is one of those cases where they are it's overwhelmingly obvious, right? It's not very subjective. A more subjective trend line would be something like more shorter time frame where it's like looking like this or something. That's what I don't like. So I'm looking at this trend line for sure, in my technical analysis purely. And I would really like to see the price of gold kind of do a little pump, on a Monday to sweep those weekly highs, right? And then break through that level, retest, and then head down toward 3,300, which is my first target. Now, depending on the news, that could very much change, but from a pure technical standpoint and the current economics, that's exactly what I'm looking at. So if I'm going to set up a trade for that, I'm going to take a short position. I'll wait for the price action to kind of bounce, break down, and enter in, somewhere around 3,333. Sure, that's a nice easy number to remember. And then we could target down here, and we could move our stop loss to break even once it approaches that 3,300. And for the stop loss, around a $25 move, because if I take the ATR here, the average true range, we can find like a decent range for gold. If we go to the daily, we can kind of see, it's right now it's sitting at 46 the daily, but if we zoom out, we can see the overall average is around $25 to $30. Now, we can look at the 4-hour too. That kind of helps if we get like a mid-range. That's usually more accurate. If you kind of zoom out and you kind of go in the middle of the highs and lows of this ATR, around 25 to $20 is reasonable for a swing trade stop loss, okay? So that's kind of how I determine my stop loss level. And we can set that to 25. I like 25 there just because we're a little bit above this kind of rebound price that we had here at 33.50, which is also a pretty good psychological level. 33.50, we've seen a lot of reaction to that price point in the past. So just be aware of 33.50. If you can get your stop loss above that level, we have it about $7 to $8 above that level. That's a beautiful little defense line there. Now, the only other thing is like we could look at a Fibonacci level, but as you can see here, we've pretty much smashed through all of the recent fib levels on this previous run, right? There was not much respected there. There was just a lot of sell pressure momentum during the second half of the week. So nothing to be said there. And the only other technical indicator we could look at is the anchored VWAP here to the all-time high. Okay, so we can anchor that there, and we can see that so interesting. Another huge reason why we have to wait for price to break kind of this zone here. I would love to see price close below that anchor VWAP for an overall bearish indication. Okay, so yeah, that's the plan for gold this week. I wouldn't say bullish until we have more of a reason, unless you want to take a technical bounce entry off of this anchored VWAP level, which is a level that institutions often look at, is the anchored VWAP. That is one of the main indicators that they look at for value. So if you're aggressive, if you want to be aggressive to start the week, because we did perfectly bounce off of that anchor VWAP level, which is unbelievable. I did not have that marked on my chart. How much did we bounce off of that? Let's just see real quick, actually. So we did an instant $11 bounce on gold. That would have been a beautiful day trade entry. I'm kind of kicking myself now that I didn't have this anchor VWAP marked on my chart. But with that being said, if I go down to the 5-minute, sometimes that price is a little different. Yeah, it didn't quite touch. So maybe I would have just missed the entry if I got cute with it and set my entry to here, right? So who knows if I would have hit it if I saw it, if I would have gotten in the trade. But we can watch it now, that's for sure. Maybe even a retest. Maybe if there's some positive news for for gold, that might turn it a little bit more bullish economically. But from a pure technical standpoint, we have two really good potential outcomes here. And this is one of those situations where let's wait and see what happens. Just wait and see. Are the buyers going to win here? Are we going to break this anchor VWAP, this trend line, and retest it and continue down, right? So whatever is going to happen, I imagine it will be decisive when it does happen. Okay, so just keep an eye on that. Let's see how the week opens, because we're at a very interesting level right now. Okay, so hopefully that helps, guys. I will leave the link for the EdgeFinder software in the description if you want to look at it for yourself. And if you want to join me in the Discord, I post swing trade setups all the time for any members to see. So you can join that in the description as well. So hope you have a good trading week, and I will see you next week. All right, peace.